The Deluge refers to a series of invasions in the 17th century that nearly wiped the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth out of existence. It was a one-two punch. A massive Cossack uprising led by Bogdan Khmelnytsky, followed immediately by a full-scale Swedish invasion, while also fighting Russia and Transylvania. The country was overwhelmed, occupied, and pillaged. The core period of this was from 1648 to 1667. This happened within the territory of the Commonwealth, which covered modern-day Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, Belarus, and parts of Latvia. The impact that the Deluge had to do was that it shattered the golden age of the Commonwealth and marked the beginning of its permanent decline, which could eventually lead to the partition of Poland a century later. Geopolitically, it empowered Russia and Sweden, shifting the balance of power in Eastern Europe. Now, these are the three most important aspects of this event and the consequences that originated from them. The first important aspect, the Liberum Veto. The Liberum Veto was a parliamentary rule that required unanimous agreement for any law to pass. A single nobleman could stand up and shout, "I don't allow," and dissolve the entire session. During the Deluge, this made the Commonwealth utterly ungovernable. Massive decisive military funding and reform were needed, the same repeatedly paralyzed by vetoes, often bribed by foreign powers like Sweden. So this caused that the state couldn't respond effectively to this existential threat. The second important aspect was the golden livery of the Schlachta. The Schlachta had immense golden liveries, including the right to form armed confederations and elect the king. This created a weak central monarchy. When King John II Casimir, while capable, was constantly hamstrung by powerful magnates who prioritized their private armies and interests over the state's survival. This led to treason on a massive scale. Many powerful Lithuanian and Polish magnates, like Janusz and Bogusław Radziwiłł, saw more profit in swearing allegiance to the Swedish King Charles Gustav X than in defending the Commonwealth. This mass defection opened the gates to the foreign invaders. And last but not least important aspect, the Cossacks. The Cossacks, fierce warriors in the southeastern borderlands, were initially a semi-autonomous part of the Commonwealth. However, the Polish crown and magnates consistently failed to integrate them, breaking promises, limiting their rights, and treating them as second-class subjects. This injustice exploded to the Khmelnytsky uprising in 1648. It wasn't just a rebellion, it was a brutal civil war that shattered the eastern frontiers, drained the Commonwealth army, and, pretty much, invited Russian intervention. The Cossacks, seeking an ally, pledged allegiance to the Tsar in 1654, turning a rebellion into a war for survival. And now, what I would have done differently to deal with the Swedish invasion? These are the top 3 critical changes that I would do to alter the outcome of the war. First is to try to bypass the veto. I would have declared a state of emergency, forming a wartime confederation that could make decisions by majority vote, instantly neutralizing the paralyzing Liberum Veto and enabling swift action. While also trying to co-opt the magnates, instead of confronting traitorous nobles, I would have offered them prestigious military commands and titles, binding their personal ambition to the nation's survival and making betrayal less appealing. And one of the last things that I could try to do that would absolutely turn the tide of the war is to flip the Cossacks. I would have immediately sent envoys to the Cossack leader, Khmelnytsky, offering a tripartite commonwealth, a Polish, Lithuanian, Ruthenian commonwealth, granting them autonomy and seats in the Sejm. This would have turned a devastating enemy into a crucial ally. If John Casimir II would have taken these decisions, it is very probable that the Deluge, as we know it, would have been nearly as destructive as it was, and the Commonwealth would still exist. And it would still be a major counterweight to Russian and Prussian expansion, potentially preventing the partitions of Poland and ensuring a more stable and pluralistic Eastern Europe. And as the last thing that I want to mention is that I hope that we learn that freedom requires responsibility in a crisis. Pragmatism must override ideology, and my wish for future generations is that we could unify and boldly reform over chaos, ensuring that sovereignty is preserved through collective actions and compromise.